Okay, so, oh, it's you. Okay, it is 6:01 and I will call this public meeting to order. Any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof, does anybody have an interest to declare? I have no hands up. So we'll move forward with the purpose of the meeting, which is 3.1 and proposed procedural bylaw amendments, and I will read the preamble. Personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Municipal Act and will be used to assist in making decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the clerk. The purpose of public meetings is to present applications in bylaw changes in a public forum. Following presentations by the applicant or by the staff, council members will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions for clarification or further information. The meeting will then be open to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name, address for the recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to myself, the chair of the meeting. Once all the information is provided, the opportunity to address public questions, we will do that at that time. Following council's decision, which is slated to come forward on the December 9th meeting, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Municipal Act. And if there's any challenges, please direct all comments to the clerk. Okay, so now that I got the preamble out of the way, moving on to proposed procedural bylaw amendments. Madam Clerk, is there some information you'd like to give us?
Certainly. So the report sets out the proposed amendments. There have been several administrative amendments also that have been included for formatting. These changes have no impact on the meaning or implementation of the bylaw. My report outlines all of the changes that I'm proposing for the procedural bylaw, and that will be for the remainder of the term or until such time as council or staff feels that another amendment or a new bylaw is necessary. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to take those now.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Questions in regards to the proposed changes to procedural bylaw? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Foti.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to our clerk. When I read this, it looks fairly straightforward. I didn't see anything alarming here, other than it posed the obvious question. Is this something the province has handed down that we are implementing, or is this just a cleanup of old paperwork that has now been caught up to?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for your question. So just coming in new, having a look at the bylaws and how council meetings happen here, I thought that it was a good time to make a couple procedural changes and just align. There are some things that now more align with the Municipal Act and the wording in that, but nothing is pressure from the province.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for the clerk? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Part of my conversation is about the unfinished business and other business and how that's actually handled. And, you know, again, it's kind of part and parcel to the new policy. And I'm wondering, you know, why that's being changed as it is. Thanks.
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor. So for the unfinished business part, it's been removed because it specifically states in the current procedural bylaw that this item is for tabled matters. We've used it a bit incorrectly. So tabled matters should include a date and a time for the item to be returned. We've been using it for items that staff are working through. So certainly you can still ask questions in the in the meeting. It's just not the spot for it. If there is a tabled item, it would be under business and then other business as well. So it has been removed because if it is a business item and does need discussion, it should be brought forward through a notice of motion, which would provide for the public to have an opportunity to review what is going to be discussed, just in case there are any delegations that want to come forward to speak to that matter. So just a little bit more structure and transparency through that.
Follow up. Follow up, please. So then the heading briefings, how does that work into this matrix also?
So I've briefings and delegations had always kind of been part and parcel, one and the same. So now delegations are for those individuals in the public who seek to discuss a matter either outside or inside the agenda. They have to come forward, ask the clerk to be part of a delegation. A briefing is more like a consultant or somebody, the Conservation Authority. We do have a delegation tonight for the GAN tourism, so they would be more of a briefing, something that staff or council, somebody that staff or council have invited to come. So just breaking those two apart for it to be members of the public, and then kind of our partners would be the briefings. Then in the briefings, they can be actually put in front of the matter that it is that they're speaking to. So if one of the staff members has a report and the individual is speaking to that matter, we can just bump them to that specific item in the agenda.
So the briefings can happen anytime through the meeting is what I'm hearing.
Technically, they could if staff wish to have, if it is a consultant. So we would want them to speak at the same time as a staff member delivering that report, rather than just be at the beginning of the meeting where the delegations are slated.
Okay, there might be other questions.
Counselor Lackey, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the clerk. While I understand, we want to be very streamlined in the way we do things, I think other business should be left alone as a bit of a catch-all. It's nice that we can plan ahead as much as possible, but sometimes in the moment, there needs to be a place where we can unload maybe a thought or two for future reference. And I think that's the spot to do it. Council meetings are supposed to be for council, unfortunately not for staff. So it's more of our comfort level, I think. So that's my only objection to the report.
Go ahead.
Through you, Your Worship. So there is a spot for announcements and statements by councilors. And that was kind of the catch-all if there is something that it's not a business item, but it's kind of a catch-all if there is something that's burning that needs to be brought forward.
So it's changing more of the heading versus the inability for a counselor to say something.
That's correct, yeah.
So it would be under counselor statements. Go ahead.
I wasn't going to,
But
but
here you are.
here I am. To Councillor Lackey's point, I beyond what I understand to be the technical requirements and everything else, I think one reason why this group has been reasonably successful in maintaining a decorum or just friendliness or just courtesy has been in some respects because we have been in a situation where we've been able to have conversations around this table that haven't been tied directly to notices of motions and other aspects, which I know are correct. So as you move ahead, I hope that isn't lost, because when we look not very far up the road and next door and everything else, and we see the kind of continuing conflicts that go on, I think part of the thing here, and I'll say the word, the magic, has been the fact that we talk to one another. And as tough as it is with the camera on and all the other stuff I really don't like, we've still been able to make points without it having to be rigidly inside a box. And I go away better informed than I would otherwise. So it's not that I would be against the changes. I understand and I respect what the clerk is doing. I just hope you don't lose that capacity to communicate among yourselves. Thank you.
Any other comments in regard to the changes? Go ahead, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to thank the clerk for this big piece of housekeeping. I really think it'll be a little just adjustment period for us, but I think it does add a layer of transparency and clarity to our meetings, and I think that's a good thing.
Any other comments? Councillor Rell, did you want to weigh in?
Excuse me, in this is the public meeting. I was going to wait until the council meeting addresses it. Thank you.
Sorry, no problem. Just everybody's had a chance to speak so far. So, you know, this was a bit of an education for me because we had done things the way that we had always done things, and I wasn't aware that I was maybe not following proper protocol by times. But to Councillor Jameson's point, we still managed to get the job done in the way that we still, in the end, followed protocol. If anything needed to come forward as a notice of motion and those sorts of things. So I appreciate the clerk's work to try to get us more inside the lines based on the Municipal Act. But to the point, the other point that I'd like to make is that this is in no way trying to limit public interaction. If anything, it's supposed to make it more clear when it's appropriate and how it's appropriate. And to say that at Committee of the Whole, we take questions from the public at any time. If anybody raises their hand, happy to recognize them and have them come to the podium and ask questions. Council, generally speaking, as Councillor Lackey had said, that we often, or that it's for council to finish council business rather than deal with the public matters. However, I know that there has been times we've had council meetings where people have come and wanted to make a point, and I have recognized them, and I do have that discretion as a chair. And by no means do I ever want anybody to think they can't come and raise points that we may not have thought of as council members. But I like the fact that they're under the new procedural bylaw. There's two major things that I do like, and having the agenda published on Thursdays, that delegation requests can be requested up until the following business day, until the end of day. So if somebody had a burning issue, if there was something coming forward on an agenda and they picked it up on a Thursday, they can ask the clerk and myself to see if they can get on the agenda so they can make some points more formally, I guess, rather than raising a hand and asking from the gallery. The second point was, I'm losing my train of thought. I'll come to me and I'll talk about it in the general meeting. But nonetheless, this, I think, we'll still be able to do all the things that we have been doing in the past, just might be under a bit of a different heading or a different label. But anyways, there, made my points. Any other comments or questions before I close the public meeting? Oh, I know what it was. So under the new guidelines, it would allow us to start a public meeting and go right into the regular scheduled meeting, so we wouldn't have to wait. So tonight, as we end tonight's meeting at 6:15, 6:20, and around there, we could start right into council, and that just makes time more efficient for us and for staff. And rather than people waiting for us to start for another 10 minutes, we just keep moving. So I do like that particular change as well, because it just helps us be a bit more efficient. Anyway, with that, there's no other hands up. So I have a motion for adjournment coming from Councillor, maybe seconded by Councillor Jameson, that the public meeting adjourn at 6:15. All those in favor of adjournment? All those opposed? And it's carried. Thank you very much.